India is probably the only offshoring ecosystem which is building for every global location that you can think of. The biggest misconception that a lot of leaders sitting at headquarters have, or even the industry has about GCCs, is that they don't understand the customer. That is a misconception that we need to break, and marketing plays a very critical role in ensuring that, right? You need to move from talent-based narratives to outcome and business-based narratives, and that will go a long way in pushing the ecosystem forward and getting us noticed, right? Can the next CTO, Chief Product Officer, CHRO be based out of India?
Hi, this is Aman Kanjhlia, and welcome to the HT Brand Leadership Series, a series of one-on-one interactions with top brand and marketing leaders who share their industry insights and strategies that have helped shape their stories. This series, hosted by Hindustan Times, offers a behind-the-scenes look at how leaders adjust their strategies for changing consumer behavior while leveraging media channels that improve customer relationships. Namita Adavi, with over a decade at Zinnov and a background in economics, has played a pivotal role in transforming global capability centers in India into strategic hubs for innovation and global brand building. As partner and head of GCCs at Zinnov, she is leading conversations that shape the future of global operations from India. Hi Namita,
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you
Great
so
to
much.
have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
When I was researching about our discussion today, I wanted to research a little about you, about the company.
Yeah.
Very interestingly, I saw that you were an eco grad, right?
Yeah.
Not many eco grads actually end up influencing how we talk about AI and tech. So was this by a twist, by design or destiny?
My entry was probably by destiny.
Okay.
I think I've stayed by design.
Okay.
So I think for me it was a journey where, like I said, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I told you that I'm the first non-engineer, non-MBA, I think, within the organization. Right. But I think for me, the real passion started with wanting to solve customer problems. Zinnov was making an impact even before this, industry was kind of growing. I think the impact was really what made me stay.
Interesting, nice.
Yeah.
One other thing, on LinkedIn, it spoke a lot about what you do, your interests.
Yeah.
Tell me something what LinkedIn doesn't tell me.
That I'm actually trying to learn to play the ukulele. I don't think LinkedIn knows that yet. Okay. But let's see, if I have to publish it as one of my skills, we'll get there. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
So what level right now?
Extremely. Is there a level before beginner? I'm probably that level. Yeah. Extremely amateur.
Okay. All right. Great. Now let's talk a little about what we're here for, the tech part of it. So what you do, and what I've realized, is that you turn complex texts into compelling stories.
Yeah.
Right? That's one of the job roles. How do you crack the code for making marketing resonate in such a nuanced space?
So that's a great question. I think the day job of a consultant, if you have to summarize it in one line, is to be able to tell a compelling story. That's what we do. Part of the marketing and the spin or the story around it is to be able to speak to the impact to the business, right? So you have to be able to appeal to a CEO as well as the CFO as well as the CTO all in one go. And I think part of our storytelling ensures that all of these stakeholders get what they want out of the conversation, right? That's what we do. That's the story we want to tell, so that everybody that has a stake in it feels like they're impacted.
So did you manage to get that marriage going between the CTO and the CMO?
On most days. There are still days when it doesn't work out, when they're not speaking the same language. But on most days, I think we do a fairly good job of that.
Interesting. Not many can really boast of that. But I firmly believe that CTO, CMOs do need to talk to each other.
Oh, 100%.
One cannot live in isolation of the other. That's what I said, it has to be a perfect marriage.
Yeah. And I think it also needs to be, you forget your day job, and they don't very often. So I think for us, it's to bring the entire narrative together. But I think it's also to make sure that leaders are stepping out of their day jobs to really look at the business, right, overall. Right. So I think that's what we're basically doing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Tell me, we have over 1,700 GCCs currently operating in our country. You know, there used to be always talk about talent, cost effectiveness, but that's a given now. Correct. For a country of our size, of our cap. So I'm not even thinking now GCCs are thinking just about cost, just about talent. That's, as I said, a given.
Yeah.
So in a saturated environment, which it is getting to, how does your role in, say, storytelling and market positioning help Zinnov and by throughput your clients? How do you make a differentiation? How do you stand out?
Sure. So I think one big part of my job, which is very easy, is to sell the India story, right? I don't think the market's saturated. In fact, I personally genuinely believe we're just getting started. Right. But we are the pool of the largest STEM talent globally, right? And the most qualified talent. The other thing that's happening is that there is now a series of global leaders who, you know, historically we have a track record of all the Indian talent going abroad and becoming CEOs of companies in global locations. I think that is going to stop. We fundamentally believe that the next access to leadership is going to be in India by virtue of the flywheel of GCCs themselves, right? They have created the next line of leadership. I don't know if you know this, but India is also actually the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. And that's going to be a big contributor in terms of the capability to the ecosystem. So for us, in terms of building a compelling narrative, we really want to shift, the narrative from cost effectiveness to a hub of experimentation and innovation, right? That's the narrative. We want the next OpenAI and ChatGPT to be from India. There is no excuse for why that can't happen. That's where I think the ecosystem's heading, and that's the story we want to tell.
Oh, very interesting. The point that you just made, GCCs are evolving from just being back offices to innovation hubs.
Absolutely. Evolved. They're done.
Oh, great.
It's done.
But how do you see the role of marketing? You spoke about storytelling and all of that. But so marketing, your own function, shaping the next chapter of this entire transformation story.
So I think we're trying to increasingly focus on telling the story through metrics, right? And that's where consultants like Zinnov really come into the picture. You have to be able to tie it back to numbers, and not numbers that relate to India, numbers that relate to the global impact to the business, right? The other big part of the story that we're trying to tell and market is that we are really the innovation hub for the globe. So India is probably the only offshoring ecosystem which is building for every global location that you can think of, whether it's Europe, whether it's North America, I think barring Antarctica maybe, but that is where our products are going. And it's an engineer who's sitting, in an obscure office in Outer Ring Road who's building the next big AI ML product for an organization based somewhere else. That's a powerful story to tell. That's part of the narrative that we are building for global organizations, right? But it needs to be known as the hub of experimentation for the globe, and that's where the focus needs to shift as well.
Anything which you feel that needs impetus right now from the government or the private sector that will help in bridging this gap currently that exists, or bridging, I guess, is not the right statement. It's about accelerating the already story that's going on. I mean, do you think there is a gap that needs to be addressed?
Absolutely. So that's a great question also. I'm so glad you asked it, because it's also a cause that's very close to my heart. The employability gap, just in terms of, if you look at the quality of graduates in technology, PhDs in AI, ML, etc., coming out from a China or a US, we're still way behind on that curve, right? We need to bridge that employability gap. The average quality of the graduate in STEM in India needs to be up-leveled, and you need to also be able to talk domain, right? So techno-functional depth in the talent, as we call it, would make us, it would be unprecedented. There would be nobody to beat us if we beat that particular gap. I call it the employability gap, but I think leaders have different terminology. methodology for it.
So that's an interesting one, that the point that you just made. So is that still something, a notion that you have in your mind?
Yeah.
Or is the government doing something about that?
Yeah, I think the government action, or at least where we're really seeing the difference in terms of the STEM graduates, is still limited to tier 1 universities, right? I think the real work is at the grassroots, in your tier 2 towns, in your tier 2 universities, etc. Because there's only few hundreds that are coming out from these top universities, but our needs are going to be in a few 100,000, lakhs and millions in a few years. And unless we're able to bring everybody and make everybody a part of this employment generator, we're going to lose out on the race, right? And this is something that I think other global developed economies have done a great job. Romania, China, all of them have done a good job of this. We really need to catch up and surpass maybe, yeah.
Great thought. Now tell me something, a little technical for me at least. The concept of GCCs as invisible engines is fascinating, right? It truly is. How do you define the role of a GCC in driving global brand building, and how can these centers differentiate themselves from other global operators?
Awesome. So I think, and this is in the India context,
Yes,
I'm going to
yes.
answer that question. So global capability centers, or GCCs, have evolved from being able to only solve for cost-effective talent. You're right, they were known as the back offices of the world, right? Now they have moved into becoming hubs of experimentation. Now India particularly, because of the time and ease of scaling of talent and the supporting ecosystem, has become a microcosm, as we call it, of the parent org. So any team that is present at headquarters is present in India, right? And I think that makes us the perfect destination to scale, like pilot and scale any new initiatives, whether it's AI/ML centers of excellence, whether it is innovation programs, etc. All of that becomes very easy to test here, and that's where cost effectiveness plays a very important role, right? Because it's a fail fast, pivot quickly kind of model that a lot of these GCCs are following, right? And that is the global brand. That is the appetite for innovation, because you have an India to play around in is so critical to the organization itself, because you never know when your next big product or process or leader is going to come out, and India is becoming a source for a lot of that, right? Just because they're able to experiment so quickly.
Let me come back something personal again.
Sure.
You've had a long and impressive journey, I must say, at Zinnov, right? You've, I think, progressed from a senior analyst to a partner right now. And looking back, when you do look back on your career, what would you say was a pivotal moment in your career that helped shape your leadership style today? And how did that background, again coming back to the economics, influence your approach in the field that you are in right now?
Sure. So I'll answer maybe the second question first. So I was generally a fish out of water when I came as an economics graduate into consulting, because you have these fancy MBAs from tier 1 institutes, and I had none of the IIM, ISB pedigree. But I think what economics gives you is a framework mind, right? Like it's a framework mindset where you're able to take something relatively abstract and create a very structured solution around it. That helped me. The other thing is it helps you read a lot. Like economics or any humanities subject, you have to get into the habit of reading, and that has worked really well for me in the consulting industry. It's my top hobby. I even read for fun, which is shocking, but I love it. I think I've had a lot of inflection points, but I think it's almost always the first time you make a presentation to the customer and it's a terrible presentation, and your leader still takes a leap of faith in you and says, you did a good job, you could obviously do better. I think I've had a lot of points in time in Zinnov where some senior leader has taken a leap of faith in me, and that continues to be the way I operate also, right? There is room for mistakes. There's no room for the same mistake twice. Look back on the 11 years and it honestly feels like 25 years. So I know it looks like a very impressive journey, but I've really been through the grind. I think for me, it was, there have been several set of pivotal moments that I've gone through in Zinnov, and every day has been something new. But the one time that really defined how I would operate as a leader was, we had a bad customer meeting. It was terrible. I was in charge of it. And even after all of that fiasco, my boss still had the courage to say, hey, it's okay, it was a bad day, no problem, took a leap of faith, right? I think that taking a leap of faith has become very pivotal to how I operate as a leader. You can make mistakes, obviously don't make the same mistake twice, but I continue to operate with the space that I give my team, to make mistakes and just continue to take a leap of faith in them.
But that's
important.
very nice because you're right. Early in your career, if you do get such mentors, such people who lead you,
it's life-changing.
It really defines as to how
does.
you would become as a leader, right? So yeah, I completely buy
And now
that
you know
point.
why I've stuck with the company for this long. Yeah.
So coming back now, tell me, what do you think are the biggest misconceptions about GCCs when it comes to their role in global brand building? And how can marketing help shift these perceptions?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the biggest misconception that a lot of leaders sitting at headquarters have, or even the industry has about GCCs, is that they don't understand the customer. Because if you notice, the 95% of their business comes from markets that are not on the same time zone, at least 2-3 flights away, North America or Europe, etc. And so I think that is a misconception that we need to break, and marketing plays a very critical role in ensuring that, right? They need to be able to communicate that if I'm an engineer sitting somewhere in Bangalore, I understand what my customers are going through sitting somewhere on the West Coast in the US, right? And a lot of GCCs have actually made very, very concentrated efforts to increase that. And their marketing teams or communications teams are telling that story loud and proud. I think that's going to be very critical in terms of the role that marketing plays. Just communicate that they understand the business as well as the tech.
Okay, so I'll do a follow-up on this. So if you could identify one untapped marketing channel that could radically transform as to how GCCs like Zinnov build their global presence, what would that be and why?
So I think, just in terms of maybe the global media is probably the most underutilized, right? Because they still don't understand the concept and the DNA of GCCs in many cases. The media plays a very critical role, but I think the whole narrative has to shift from talking about talent, from hiring, attrition, salary trends, to talking about great global products that have come out of these organizations, right? There are a lot of GCCs that are doing really cutting edge work, and they're doing it for global customers, and not enough noise is being made about that. You need to move from talent based narratives to outcome and business based narratives, and that will go a long way in pushing the ecosystem forward and getting us noticed, right? All of this is the onus of the marketing teams to do. But I think global media channels are probably the most undertapped.
So are you doing something, working towards fulfilling it?
Yeah, we're looking at partnerships and collaborations. There was recently a East Coast headquartered, I don't know if I can quote it, but the biggest publication globally that we released an entire article on, just so that they understand the narrative around GCCs, right? And I think a big disservice is being done by global politicians. I'm not going to name them, but you know who. And that needs to be fixed also, which is why the global media plays such a critical role. So I think we're looking more at partnerships and collaborations to enable this.
Interesting. For a lot of young professionals or marketers, entering the GCC space, what skills and strategies should they focus on to succeed in helping these centers build strong, recognizable global brands from India?
Awesome.
As I said, your story is interesting.
Yeah.
How do you translate that for the young ones who are trying to enter this, so the young marketers who are already there?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I think there is this concept that I like to call, which is called learning agility. Right? It is the ability to adapt depending on what the market needs. And in the age of AI, that skill set is probably going to be the most fundamental to have, right? Just your ability to pivot quickly, learn something new, be open to making mistakes and failing is going to be extremely important from the perspective of any young professional, particularly marketing folks entering the workforce itself. The other thing is just a love of discovery. I think not enough kids these days are asking questions And if you know AI is only as good as the quality of the questions you ask it, right? So that's going to be absolutely critical for success for any young professional looking to enter.
But tell me, I mean, you've got tenure here.
Yeah.
Today you asked...
Thank you for calling me old.
Tenure, different, very nice. Big line, not even a
it's
thin
a
line.
politically correct word for old. Yeah.
But with all the tenure that you've spent at Zinnov, not many youngsters that I interact with, at least, I'm sure in your case too, they take these jobs as gigs. And it's for them, okay, 1 saal kar liya, 2 saal kar liya types, it's now time to move on.
Yeah.
Does that work for in places like these?
No, it doesn't. I think in any, and I would be testament to that, 11 years in an industry which is known for high attrition, no, it doesn't work. I think you can do it for the first couple of years, you can make life about passion projects, but in the age of AI, which is making life so simple, folks who do well in their careers will be known for having deep domain functional expertise in some area or the other. You have to be known as a subject matter expert. Otherwise, you fear becoming irrelevant very quickly, right? No, it doesn't work. Stick to an area that interests you, go deep, and don't be afraid to go deep, basically.
I hope they do listen into this advice, because I think it's important. Otherwise, this becomes too frivolous. You don't know to invest into the person or not. This guy's going to leave us in a year, and then look.
Yeah, I think can I just make a correction though? I think the Gen Zs or Gen Alphas, as you call them, are not afraid of experimentation, but I also think we do write them off as frivolous a lot sooner than they. Because I have a lot of Gen Zs on my team who are very invested in the work they do, right? They also are driven by a very deep sense of purpose, and organizations also owe it to them to make it feel like their work is purposeful and making a difference to the world, rather than just paying them a hefty salary. So it's a catch-22. I think both sides have a lot of work to do, but you're right. I think the stickiness has been a bit of a challenge for us.
So GCCs have traditionally always been seen something as cost-saving engines, right, for enterprises. However, with the growing focus on innovation, digital transformation, the regular words that we keep hearing, strategy, value,
the buzzwords,
the buzzwords. How do you think the perception of GCCs is evolving?
Yeah, I think the cost savings is an established argument. I think nobody's arguing cost savings anymore. But I do think that India as a GCC's destination will have to focus. Like I said, I think the depth in the technology will be the fundamental sort of differentiator. They are being viewed as hubs of experimentation, right? They are being viewed as, hey, it is easier for me to start something new in India as opposed to anywhere in the US, because it's so much more expensive there. But it is going to be important for us to make sure we're very outcome focused. But yeah, I think hubs of experimentation maybe is probably how I would summarize what GCCs here are being known or branded as for the global leaders.
Tell me something. This is you speak about these being hubs of innovation. That narrative, is it really out there? Because I still, when I talk to, and I do talk to a lot of people across industries, it doesn't seem to come out like that.
Correct. So this is where I think the whole aspect of focusing on the outcome and the impact rather than the talent and scale. Like I think scale is a good word for it, right? Is going to be so important, because headquarters has already noticed, right? And I would argue that headquarter locations have noticed what even the media has not in the domain. But yeah, absolutely. I think there have been these poster children of the GCC ecosystem that have done it so much service, created the next flywheel of talent, and definitely is the narrative that is catching on, going forward. We're in the business of where we're trying to evolve what the next wave of transformation is going to look like. Where is that trigger going to come from? But it's definitely the overall perception of India in the globe.
Okay. I mean, I can continue talking about this, but let me do another, offbeat question.
Sure.
If today you spoke about AI, right? And AI is only ChatGPT, for example, is only as good as the prompts that you give, right? So today, if ChatGPT were to write a bio for you, all right, What's that one line that you hope it gets absolutely right, and why?
What's the one? Oh my God, that's a tough one. Probably, I think master storyteller. I think that would would probably be a good way to like my elevator pitch. But yeah, I think just my like I would like it to be a legacy of creating an impact, right, and not talking faff. I think the consulting industry particularly is known to be very fluffy in the way we operate. I have very purposefully broken away from that, even in the stories I tell. So I hope it is a legacy of true impact, and that goes beyond just words and numbers.
And so what would be the prompts that you would give ChatGPT for that kind of an output?
You could summarize me in one line. What would it be? Yeah.
Interesting. So do try that out and tell us what the outcome is.
I'm not going to tell you what the outcome. I'm going to try it out. I'm not going to tell you what the outcome is necessarily.
All right. Tippy, I'll this will be the last question that I have. But we've spoken about the current scenario. A little, maybe a line or two, that how do you see GCCs evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? I have gone through, by the way, the report that you published recently with NASSCOM, right? It has a few numbers. I'll leave that to you to tell me. But what steps, one is the future in the next 5 to 10 years, and what steps should marketing teams take today to ensure that these centers are seen as very integral to a company's international brand success?
Absolutely. So that's a good question. I think we're ready now for the next wave of transformation. Fueled narratives aside on the scale of the talent as employment generators, etc. I think a lot of the mature GCCs who have been here for a long time, perfected their playbook, are now looking at impact to the top line, right? So that's one major trend we're seeing. The other big part is how do we get the global CXO roles to be based out of a GCC location and not have to be shipped off to a headquarter location, because historically that has been the trend. So can the next CTO, Chief Product Officer, CHRO be based out of India and continue to be based out of India without being exported to the headquarter location, right? Those are the two main things. I think we're going to move away from bottom line and efficiency impact to top line and leadership being driven from the GCC itself, right? Big shifts. The industry is preparing itself. Some are better at it than others, obviously. That is the nature of the industry. But that's the main outcomes. I think from a marketing role, you are, like I've said before, I think you will have to focus on making it very impact driven. You can't be talking scale of talent. You can't be talking about time to hire. Forget the whole narrative about how many graduates are coming into the pool, right? Just talk about the next big global innovation that came up. How did it impact the business? Who are the leaders behind it? That needs to be part of the narrative that we build out, because that's the narrative that's landing with global, right? Whether India is ready for it or not, that's going to be extremely important.
And the next 5-10 years, the 1700 number becomes what, as per you?
We're probably going to be breaching 2000, so about 2500 is where we think.
So we continue being the capital of the
we're
world.
We're going to be the GCC capital of the world. There's no doubt about it. But how does that scale get accompanied by impact is going to be really what redefines us. Because we can't regress. We have no room to regress.
But I think government's also playing its role to some extent, right? Today it's very interesting, and as we were talking earlier, to see state governments fight to get
woo GCCs, 100%, and as they should, right? Rightfully so, because I think the quality of the work that these GCCs are able to bring is so critical to moving the entire ecosystem forward, right? They are, so the GCCs and what they do internally is one part of it. What they are triggering in the kind of innovation startups are doing, or the kind of leadership that services companies are being able to create, is the other big and byproduct impact of the entire thing. But absolutely, we will continue to be the GCC capital of the world.
Thank you so much. On that note, master storyteller. Thank you. Stay tuned for our next episode of HT Brand Leadership Series. This is Aman Kanjhlia signing off.